Now, coming to you, Mr. Sood, did you find Supreme Court's observation today as a very anti-student kind of a stance which Supreme Court took, with no empathy for the people who got injured in the pellet attack?
You see, I cannot but agree with whatever the previous speakers have said, that not only Supreme Court, all institutions of democracy appear to have been compromised in last about a decade or so. You see, Supreme Court, while maybe while referring asking the petitioners to get hold of the actual circular, etc., should have asked the government side to tell them as to who ordered the firing. Why was such brutal force used against the protesters who were, I think, 99% of the instances who were peaceful? I have one odd, maybe out of hundreds of social media videos that are available, I have found one odd, maybe in which we can say that protesters had become violent. But then, who were those protesters who were getting violent? It is widely said, many people have commented, that those people who were using force against the police were the goons sent by the RSS and Bajrang Dal and all those things. Those people were openly seen heckling the protesters who were raising their issue of, or who were raising their grievances. So, compromise of institutions is beyond contest. Supreme Court should have asked the government to clearly state as to why the force was required to be used and why so much of force was required to be used. Having said that, I cannot but condemn the police leadership and their functioning in the entire episode. Even if the circular is not available, there's a law called use of minimum force, which requires that graded force should have been used. They could have started with a warning announcement, going on to using water cannons.
But like what you are explaining, Mr. Sood, we were expecting that the Supreme Court bench is going to ask questions on this line. But they stopped short. They did not even ask a single question.
Yes. So they did not ask anything. So, but then that doesn't give leeway to the police leadership to abdicate their responsibility. They are responsible for ensuring that their troops follow the procedure. They have failed in commanding, leading the troops from front. There were hardly any senior officer available. They were mostly constables and sub-inspectors who were having to face the verbal wrath, if you may call it, of the protesters. They failed to educate their troops to follow the procedure. And why was the necessity of deploying RAF? The deployment of RAF, the intentions were clear, that RAF is a riot force. So protesters were peaceful. There were no riots expected. Rapid action force is used against militants or insurgents or in case of riots. Deploying them made the intentions very clear. The police abdicated, the police leadership not only abdicated their responsibility, the police also delegated their responsibility of ensuring law and order to the RAF. And RAF weapons are these kind of guns. They have offensive weapons, and the general diary entry in one of the police stations makes it clear, that the pellet guns and tear smoke shells were used on the orders of the DCP concerned. So even if that be so, the commander of the RAF, who probably was an assistant commandant, should have ensured that the guns were used to sort of at the lower limbs. Maybe they could have used at the road itself, just to scare. The sound of the fire would probably have scared many of the protesters to run away. They used it to aim at the higher limbs, injuring somebody's eye, making him almost partially blind, injuring his upper body. It speaks for bad training, speaks of lack of knowledge of procedure, speaks very badly of the police leadership that commands these forces. And these forces come under the MHA, as you or somebody else was saying, that they still operate under the command of MHA. The Delhi police is directly controlled by the Home Ministry. So the overall orders for controlling the protesters, the protests, would certainly have come from the Home Minister. Many orders in such circumstances are not given in writing. They may be orders by the Home Minister or somebody to use force to disperse the crowd, because the protesters were totally unafraid. They were totally irreverent. They appeared to have lost the fear of the government and of the law enforcement.
One quick comment from you, and then I'll take the concluding remarks from Mr. Agarwal, that you were saying that the police, almost the leadership, it looked like it abdicated its responsibility. Now, when the police abdicates its responsibility, did you find the courts also abdicating their duties of pulling up the powers that be? The court almost seemed to stop short of doing that.
Absolutely, I totally agree. The Supreme Court in this case has abdicated its responsibility of questioning the authorities. They should have questioned the authority as to why such brutal force was required to be used. Why were the troops not using graded use of force?